every day as a result of tyranny regime that are taking life, illegally arresting people, even the killing. We are here today to show our solidarity to Syria refugees.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome you. I am representing Dawatul Islam and Darul Ummah in the East End of London.
Church of England, and my faith and the vows that I made in my ordination are the reason I want to work with all people of goodwill for the better world that we all want. Our faith is an important source of inspiration for all people of faith to work together for justice.
It's just filled with nothing, no sanitations, no toilet, no shower, nothing at all. And it's really dreadful, unacceptable that a human being live in a condition that an animal cannot be there. It is so unfair that we live in so wealthy, perfect condition, and just our step though we can't tolerate this happen, this no longer to happen.
Yes. L'hymne national, il y a un juif et l'espoir pourra dans le dernier cœur, du dernier juif. Tellement peu qu'on a. Donc, militer,
Congo Synthèse. La synthèse des infos de la RDC, l'Afrique et le reste du monde. Une seule adresse. www.congosynthèse.com.
Wanna cut some? Wanna cut some?
Welcome and thank you to all for joining us this evening for the Syrians UK resettlement action. We're here because winter is coming. We're ready and willing to resettle as refugees now before winter sets in. My name is Kenise. I'm a trustee at Citizens UK. I'm also a director at Sixth Form College, Sir George Monarch's College in Walthamstow.
I'm Father Simon Cuff, the Assistant Curate of Christ the Saviour Church in Ealing Broadway and a proud member of West London Citizens. We'll be helping to chair the next hour, and I'd like to introduce Soledad, who is our timekeeper. If you hear this sound, our speakers have spoken too long and we need to bring them to a swift end.
Citizens UK is an alliance of 350 civil society organisations, including churches, schools, universities, mosques, synagogues, unions, youth groups and GP practices, representing over 500,000 people across the United Kingdom.
I'm sure we all know why we're here. The crisis in Syria gets worse each and every day. Over 8 million people have been displaced within the country, and over 4 million others are refugees in the camps outside the country. A further 320,000 have been deemed in urgent need of resettlement by the United Nations. These people are survivors of torture, sexual abuse, disabled, they're very young, they're very old, and they need urgently to be taken from the camps to safe countries to survive. Since February 2014, only 216 refugees have been resettled in our country. That's less than 11 a month.
The Syrian crisis stirred us to act, which is why we have invited senior figures across the political spectrum to participate in tonight's action. Since March 2014, through Citizens UK, we have been campaigning to significantly increase the number of Syrians resettled here. We thank the Prime Minister for increasing the number of refugees he's willing to accept to 20,000 over 5 years. But given the scale of the refugee crisis, we can and we must do more. We want to see 50,000 people in need of protection a resettlement here. That's just 10 per local authority and would bring us in line with the other commitments from the other countries. There can be no excuse for inaction. Millions of people need our help, and we know our country stands ready and willing to do more.
Winter is coming. Winter is coming. We're cold here and we're lucky enough to have warm clothes and warm coats. Last year, Syrian children froze to death in the camps. We do not want that to happen again this year. Tonight we are calling on our Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron, to move further and faster. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees has said that at least 1,000 refugees are ready and waiting now to be resettled in this country. Tonight we affirm our commitment as members of organised civil society to work in partnership with the government. As a result of our coming together tonight, the Conservative Minister Richard Harrington has agreed to meet with us. We've already made one great achievement. So the question tonight, well done. The question that we ask tonight is, Mr. Cameron, will you make sure that the UK resettles these 1,000 vulnerable people before Christmas?
Okay, so we are going to begin by recognising the organisations and alliances that have joined us here this evening. We do this to demonstrate what organised civil society looks like and how, when we work together, large numbers of diverse groups of people, we are powerful. When we call on your chapter, please raise your chapter banner and make yourself known. So let's begin. Members of Telco from East London.
Members of Nottingham citizens.
Members of West London citizens.
Members of Milton Keynes citizens.
Members of North London citizens.
And South London citizens.
And then all of you who have joined us from somewhere else this evening because the Syrian crisis moves us to action too. Give us a cheer.
We will now hand over to Rabbi Laura Jana Klausner, the Senior Rabbi of Reform Judaism, to begin tonight's action. And then we will hear testimony for Razan Alakri, a Syrian refugee, about her family's experience.
Thank you. Good evening. Oh, lovely. That's brilliant. Thank you. Britain has always been a country that welcomes. Britain is enriched by our mixture of old and new. We are ennobled by our history of helping others at their very, very lowest ebb. Recently, I was in Calais and spoke to Syrian refugees there. But before my visit, I just didn't know. I just didn't know that there is no legal way to apply for asylum outside of Britain, to have this request accepted or rejected. There are no safe legal routes for asylum seekers to seek sanctuary here. In 21st century Britain, it's a disgrace. It's a collective sin that we don't run a system of asylum that gives the persecuted a fair chance even to have their stories heard. Taking only 11 refugees a day in the greatest refugees crisis since the Second World War is simply not enough. It's too low, too slow, and too narrow. Jews, like others, know what it's like to be strangers, to have no safe place to go, what it's like to be bent low, and then to be restored to humanity through the great compassion of the British people. I pray tonight that we don't turn away, but that we help lift those up. We help lift others up in their darkest hour. And in the words of the prayer that Jews say every morning, "Blessed are you, our living God, sovereign of the universe, who lift up those who are bent low. Amen.
Here we were. My entire family and extended family were in Syria prior to the war. In Syria we have one of the largest humanitarian crises in Europe since World War II and in the world. Government crimes have spread far and wide. They've affected my direct family, including those killed under torture, like my father's brother and my 2 cousins. Many of my father's cousins, including women and children, were executed when a massacre took place in our village. We have cousins, 2 of my mom's uncles, and many of my friends killed by shelling, snipers, or warplane bombs. Many more are missing till today. I have female friends detained and freed, having suffered a lot of rape in prison. They made it out of Syria, like many of my remaining family members, to Lebanon and Turkey, and some have made it through dangerous routes to Europe. My fiancé, after losing his dad under torture, his sister to a sniper, and his uncle to torture, was detained and tortured for 5 months for his work as a doctor. He was helping in field hospitals and getting aid to besieged areas of women and children. The torture marks remain till today. They took his passport, so when he went to Lebanon as a refugee, he was unable to leave, and he's waiting perhaps for a new life in the UN resettlement team, and perhaps a way for us to be united. Speaking of Lebanon, last year I visited camps, and I say camps because it doesn't have to be a tent. It could be an empty room, it could be a cellar, and it could be a shed or a stable. We've had many widows with children in the streets saying if they didn't sell their bodies, they would be thrown out by the owner. So even though leaving Syria means safety from arrest or starvation, it brings a whole load of new pressures and sadness, and it makes people even more vulnerable than before. I know some of you here have been offering aid, which is amazing, and honestly the Syrian people are really grateful. But we need more. We need people to come to get refuge in the UK. The most vulnerable need to be resettled immediately in a stable country, treated and protected, and to start their lives again. Recent new Russian airstrikes, there has already been an increase in refugee numbers. This means more vulnerable people. This means we need to take more people. Refugees like Aham, who is resettled in Bradford because his brother had leukemia, come into our country, you can get refuge here and we'll look after you. So that's why the Syrian Vulnerable Persons Relocation Scheme is being set up. It takes people directly from refugee camps and it basically acts for the most vulnerable and it avoids dangerous journeys. And that's why I've been working with Citizens UK to get people to apply pressure on their local councils to join up. I also want to emphasise the importance of introducing the private sponsorship scheme, where a Syrian or non-Syrian can sponsor a person from Syria to come and live here and start their life. This scheme would be in addition to the government's plan of resettling 20,000 over 5 years. We can make a change that will be remembered through history. The British people, the great British people, can stand by Syrian refugees and work together to help save lives. Thank you. It's really wonderful that we have a number of politicians among us today and who have agreed to join us this evening to support this action. I'd like to invite Angus Robertson, Scottish National Party's Parliamentary Group Leader, onto the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fellow citizens. It's truly humbling to follow what you have just said to us all, to remind us about the humanity that brings us to this place tonight. Your candles are a sign of humanity and solidarity. Hopefully they're also seen across the road in Westminster by those who think that the UK should only take 20,000 refugees. I don't know about you, but I think if Germany and Austria and Sweden and other countries across Europe can do so much more, so can we. So can we. And we should remember the lessons from history. 80 years ago, trainloads of small children were accepted into the UK. Jewish children from Germany, from Austria, from occupied Czechoslovakia. And they came here as something called the Kindertransport. And it's worth remembering that they were welcomed. It's also worth remembering that their parents weren't. They came without their parents, because at that time it was thought controversial that one should let in refugees in the numbers that were feared would flood the UK. Does that sound familiar? And of course people didn't have foresight, so they didn't know that the Holocaust would start and the parents would be murdered. But we do know what's happening in Syria now. And the parents are being murdered, and the children are dying, and people need our help. And that's why I'm here, together with politicians from other parties. Just after the general election, you'll be aware the SNP did quite well in the election, so I now get to ask 2 questions of the Prime Minister every week. The first questions that I asked him after the general election was about refugees. The first time we had an opposition day in the House of Commons, we had a debate about refugees. And we worked with the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats and other political parties, and we have made the issue of refugees an important subject of debate in Parliament. We will continue to do that. The bell has rung. This issue will not go away. We will not go away. You will not go away. The refugees will not go away. It's time for us to do more. We want to do more. Let's get on with it.
If you could stay for a moment. Tomorrow at the Prime Minister's questions, will you or someone from your party ask Prime Minister David Cameron to go further, faster and resettle at least 1,000 Syrians before Christmas?
I will try my very best to ask a question that will not disappoint you. Watch Prime Minister's questions tomorrow.
Yes or no? Okay, I'll leave that to everyone to listen out for tomorrow. Second, the government has recently announced the creation of the private refugee sponsorship scheme. Will you work with Citizens UK to make sure that any privately sponsored refugees are in addition to the 20,000 that the government has already committed to?
Yes.
That was perfect, thank you. And third, will you continue to work with Citizens UK to make sure that Britain plays a full and leading role in responding to this crisis as long as it endures?
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Can I first thank all of you for coming here tonight, but for all you have done to stand up and be counted in support of refugees across Europe and across Syria and across the world who need our help. It's because people across Britain have stood up that the government changed its mind and started to do something to help. It's because we saw in the space of just a few days 60 councils come forward to help. Hundreds of landlords come forward to offer homes for people. We saw thousands of people come forward to get involved in community groups, in organisations, in fundraising, in aid and support, and 1 million people sign a petition calling for action. It's only because of that determination and that compassion that we have seen the commitment now for 20,000 refugees to be given a home here over the next 5 years, and I thank you for everything you have done to make that possible. But we know it's not enough. We know that this is too low, too slow and too narrow, given the scale of the crisis, the biggest humanitarian crisis to reach Europe's shores since the Second World War. We have to do more. We cannot turn our backs. And that is why we have to make sure that Britain does more than just the 4,000 a year that the government has pledged to take. Why, when you think that 160,000 people have arrived in one Greek island just in the course of 1 month, it should not be beyond the wit of Britain to help 1,000 refugees before Christmas. We must make sure the government acts. And that means making sure that they tell us how many people have been helped so far so we can hold them to account. It means making sure they work with councils, with community groups, for supporting private sponsorship, supporting safe and legal routes, supporting us to do so much more. If every city and town took just 10 families, then that alone could help 10,000 people just this year alone. And we have to remember why this matters. Because so many people were moved by the photograph of Aylan Kurdi over the summer. But if you look for the photographs of Magnus Lindman on the Where Children Sleep website and see the photographs of so many more children who do not have a safe home to go to in Europe, sleeping in fields by the side of the road, sleeping on cardboard by the side of a railway station, sleeping under bridges, and winter is drawing in. For them, for all of them, we must act now.
Thank you, Mr. for joining us, and thank you for your help and support over the last 2 years. I'll now ask you the same 3 questions. I know you've answered a couple of them, but just to get a yes or a no. First, will you and your party continue to press the government to go further and faster to resettle 1,000 Syrians before Christmas?
Yes, we will.
Second, the government has recently announced the creation of the private sponsorship scheme. Will you work with us to make sure that this scheme is in addition to the 20,000 that the government has already committed to?
Yes, we will.
That was easy, I thought it would be harder. And third, will you continue to work with us to make sure that Britain plays a full and leading role in responding to this crisis as long as it endures?
3 easy yeses. Yes, we will.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for joining us on stage and working together to continue this drive inside and outside of Parliament.
Thank you, Razan, for pinning the politician so excellently and for sharing your story. We're all here because we care. We care deeply about our fellow human beings and we care deeply about what's happening to them. But on our own, we are not as powerful as we are together. And it's important that we build relationships across the disparate groups that have come together to act on this issue. So now I'd like you to take 2 minutes to turn to someone near you who you don't know and to say who you are, where you come from, and why you are moved by the plight of the Syrian refugees. Thank you.
I think you're sorry, guys. I managed to get this Wi-Fi now, so I lost contact with you through that dividing
Pray for you.
Thank you very much. That's Congolese people. Yes, my name is Okito Tongomo. I'm the chairman of Congo Support Group. Thousands of Congolese, as you are aware, been forced to leave our country every day as a result of tyranny regime that are taking life, illegally arresting people, even the killing. We are here today to show our solidarity to Syria refugees. May I ask all Congolese people here today, say it again with me. We are here today to show solidarity to Syria refugees. Thank you. We are here to show our solidarity to Syrian refugees who are going through a difficult time. We are victims of a difficult time as a refugee. The UK has given us hope and life, especially victims of rape. I say women here come from Congo who were victims of rape, illegal arrested, the killing and a different form of abuse. I hope today all refugees will be given a chance to consider as we are all human. Thank you. Thank you.
Before I start my speech, I want to send respect and love to the people who have lost their loved ones in the capital city of Turkey, in Ankara. Thousands of people attended the peace rally urging the AKP government to start the peace process once again with the Kurdish armed forces, the PKK, and to stop supporting behind closed doors the Islamic State, who has destroyed parts of Syria as well. My name is Rui from the Alevi Cultural Center and Cemevi. My father was a political prisoner in Turkey and decided it wasn't a safe place for him and his family to live, and decided to move to this country in 1989. Members of our community tell me that it was very difficult for them as they didn't know English, had no money and had no place to sleep. But this country, this great country, helped them, and 25 years on, I could proudly say that there are thousands of Alevi professionals working for our NHS, working as lawyers and serving this country. 3-in-1 businesses in Hackney, Haringey and Enfield are owned by members of our community. Just imagine a Britain where there isn't kebabs, curry or jerk chicken. Would it be as colourful and great as it is today? This is why we should help our Syrian brothers and sisters to come to this country and to start a new life. Because I and my community believe that 25 years later, we will need them. We would need their traditions and their foods and their culture in this country. Thank you very much for listening to me. Long live peace. Thank you.
Hiya, my name is Service. I'm a refugee. I came from Albania 1 year ago. Of communism. Kosovo fled fearing the ethnic cleansing in Yugoslavia.
We know what it's like to be living in fear, have no hope that you will be alive the next day, waiting for someone, a neighbor, with no idea of what to do to help you get out of this horrible situation.
You are hopeless and you have no idea what it's like to be in this situation. We, the Albanian people, did help in the past when we invited the Jewish citizens and the refugees into our families during the Holocaust, when we offered protection to them and we treated them as honoured guests. Today, we commit ourselves to everything we can to help Syrian refugees.
Thank you, Okutu, Ruhi, Servius, Dashima and Daniel. I'm a priest in the Church of England, and my faith and the vows that I made in my ordination are the reason I want to work with all people of goodwill for the better world that we all want. Our faith is an important source of inspiration for all people of faith to work together for justice. So it's my pleasure this evening to invite Sheikh Abu Sahid from Darul Amar in Tower Hamlet to give his blessing on our action this evening.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome you. I am representing Dawatul Islam and Darul Ummah in the East End of London. We are members of London Citizens and we are members of International Human Society. I welcome you all with religious linkage or with no religion. You are here to help and show your solidarity with the fallen refugees of Syria who are coming to the European shores helplessly. This government is trying whatever it has decided, which is not enough for the situation. But UK citizens, as we are, and as some of us have already made commitments to provide shelters, food, and aid to the Syrian refugees, if we can strengthen our bond and our solidarity with the refugees outside the government, we can do the same job, and all together we can give shelter and hope to thousands of Syrians in this country. May God bless them and may God bless you all who are standing by the Syrians, standing with the Syrians. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abu Sayed. Citizens UK does not just call on government for action. We demonstrate that we are ready and willing to resettle Syrians through our work at Citizens UK. Tonight is an opportunity to celebrate the commitments that we have secured. 1, the pledges made by landlords to offer their homes in the private sector. 2, the refugee welcome schools. And 3, the refugee university scholarships.
Hi, my name is Ofra and I live in the borough of Barnet. When my father died some years ago, I inherited my parents' home. I now have tenants there and the rent goes towards the cost of my mother's care. Like everyone, I watch in horror at the plight of the Syrian refugees. Citizens UK has helped to organise over 700 private landlords all over the UK who have registered their properties to be used by Syrian refugees if the property happens to be vacant at the time that it's needed. The rent would be guaranteed and paid at local housing rates. I have put my name on this list and urge anyone who is in a position to do so to join me, whether you are a commercial landlord with multiple properties or just have a small granny flat that might be available. Thank you.
Welfare House, North London Citizens, just up the down there. Muslim Welfare House has 16 community centers and mosques around the country. We did not open our hearts to the refugees of Syria and elsewhere only, but we also opened our mosques and houses, and we have donated so much. We invited so many charity come and collect for these people. I have been myself to some of these camps. I have been to Cali and seen this, what is so-called camp. It is just filled with nothing. No sanitations, no toilet, no shower, nothing at all. And it's really dreadful, unacceptable that a human being live in a condition that an animal cannot be there. It is so unfair that we live in so wealthy, perfect condition, and just our step though we can't tolerate this happen, this no longer to happen. So we took an action through North London Citizens to convince Islington Council to accept to resettle the refugees. In the beginning they said no, we can't due to the shortage of housing. But we, as a landlord, Muslim Welfare House has six flats in North London. We accepted to lower the price for these refugees. Because of that, Islington Council not only accept to resettle the refugees, but they are leading on this program. Thank you very much.
My name is the Reverend Ellen Wakeham, and I'm the school chaplain at St Gabriel's College, a Church of England comprehensive in Lambeth. We are members of London Citizens, and a few weeks ago we sat down with our student leaders and we asked them which issues were really important to them. Was it housing? Was it jobs? Was it money? I don't know what I was expecting, but as we went round the table, every single young person said the most important thing for us is the refugee crisis. Let us hear from one of those students.
My name is Crystal, and I'm a Year 10 student at St Gabriel's College, and one of the Citizens Leadership team in school. I've been thinking about the war in Syria for a long time now, and all those people who've been forced to leave their homes. If we were in that situation, we'd hope that someone would be willing to help us. When we spoke about the refugee crisis in school, I realized that it was important to my friends too. One of our school values is service to others, so we wanted to do something that could make a difference. I believe we have a lot to offer refugees in our school. We are a safe place, and we can give them opportunities to rebuild their lives. We came up with the idea of being a refugees welcome school, so that if refugees come from Syria to live in our area, we would welcome them and give them extra support.
Ok, est-ce que vous pouvez se présenter et puis vous pouvez me dire pourquoi dans ce monde ebele bato baza batondi awa nayeba eloko nini bazosala awa eloko nini boye kosala awa.
Comme na ngai na Emiliongo toye awa mpona kotelemela makambo ya biso ba réfugié oyo tokimi mboka biso ba membre ya Congo support na président na biso Kito toye mpona kotelemela ba réfugié oyo tozokima mboka mpona pasi ezolega na mboka na biso ya Congo. Kabila azoboma batu abanda koboma azokontinue koboma abanda koyiba azokontinue koyiba yango ya koloba mingi eza to de terrain départ ya Kabila atika biso bavantir na makambo nyonso oyo azolinga sala ya kochanger constitution ya komodifie constitution baje ya bavantir ya G7 wana oyo bazoya nango wana tolingi yango te wana toyebi da baje na bango wana ba G7 wana tolingi yango te lokwa tokende na élection ya suka manda na ye apotoka ke guerre elingi banda na este a déclaré état d'urgence toboyi baje wana Kabila tolobi kaka ke dégage kende masolo na oyo esili ozonga toana posa ya mboka na ezala libre to vivre bien na mboka na biso toana mboka mupaya un jour tofanda bien na mboka na biso Kabila oyibi mingi obobi mingi oviole pasi na ndenge ya mabe donc musala na yo esili kanga bisaka na yo Kabila kende.
Koto na moni lisusu bana basi boza ebele. Est-ce que vous se présenter moko et puis vous expliquer pourquoi vous avez boye kosala nini? Boye kosala nini awa?
Mpona kosoutenir baréfugié oyo baza awa biso naye toye mpona kosoutenir baréfugié oyo baza awa baréfugié oyo baza awa gouvernement oyo eza en place ezokopesa bamikanda te donc na bamboka na biso mpe makambo ndenge eza wana eza bien ata moke wana président oyo azokoma bato everywhere donc alingi même pas kolongwa
wana mboka nini
Congo toloba mpona RDC le président Kabila il faut aloba esika azali donc ye ndenge aza wana ye azokoma balettre azoloba ke Congo eza bien au moment oyo tozoloba bato bazokufa na baeste mboka eza nanu bien te nazoya awa mpona koya kobebisa makambo bato oyo baye osenga banini basi awa donc antika libere mboka nazolobaka ndenge moko ndeko nanga azoloba tolembi Kabila tolembi ye tolembi kabila atika mboka na biso papa donc tozokufa kiro mboka na biso eza na pasi tozalaki bavictime ya baviole ya makambo ebele bandeko bazokufa bana mike babebe antuka kabila tosengi yo vraimen lokwa tolingi yo te na mboka Congo tolingi yo lisusu te kende etikela biso mboka na biso eloko moko te ozosala onyokoli biso mingi okomi biso mingi kabila esika na yo ezali te lokwa nyonso baza bavictime ya baviole Kanambe, l'espoir viendra dans le cœur du dernier. Kufa mpona Congo te tokunda mpona Congo. L'équipe nationale ya bajuif elobi l'espoir mourra dans le dernier cœur du dernier juif. Dernier moko mpe mpona Congo. Tokomilite ti tokoreprendre. Population tosi tolamuki tosi totelemi kabila okende. Kabila okende po eza mboka na biso.
eza mboka na biso pa libere mboka wana 2016 kabila il faut okende kabila ozali mwana ndeke tika mboka na biso oye koboma kosilisa bozwi na biso zotinda na Rwanda kende tolingi yo lisusu te oye kosilisa bozwi na biso kopekisa bana na biso koboma bato lokola basoso papa tika kende na yo ozoluka liwa kosilisa valeur ya bamama
se présenter kombono nani oye kosala nini
mete ya ngunda ayenga ya ngunda nanga oyebisa yo kabila oza koyoka biso toza kobelela biso toza bana mboka mabele wana eza ya bakoko na biso batikela biso toyebi yo te place outa tata na yo toyebi te mama na yo toyebi te
mais obengi président comment président oyebi ata outa te
obengi kabila aza rwandais kanambe toyebi ye te biso bamama mitaka na biso bolumbu na biso etikala polele mpola kabila toza na valeur te mpo ya kabila azo viole bamama ya ba 100 ans kabila azo viole bana ba 12 ans ba 10 ans na barwanda kuna baza koboma biso tokóma lokola basoso kuta aza bien me biso tokóma lokola bambwa donc kabila yo bima na Congo tolingi yo te bima na mboka na biso sobomi mingi tolembi yo bima kende tobengani yo par le nom de Jésus tozosi moto zika moto fire kombo na nga Marche kitoko niko mtoto wa Manyema kabila nakwambia tena hivi kama leo tuko msufrance hivi siye Kongole hatustahili kukuya kulomba azile kui mwingine sababu tuko na yote likolo ya buzoba na yo mupaya outa na Rwanda
yo na ye bozolo ba mnoko moko yo yalo ba Swahili yo Swahili obenge mpaya ndenge nini
na yebi ete bazoko sela biso na yebi ete nishikujue
voilà est-ce que on peut se présenter et puis vous expliquer bateau boye kosala nini awa pourquoi boza awa
oui comme on a Fabius Mopaka du Aka lelo toye pona makambo ya ba réfugiés oyo sala na Syrie ezosala partout na bakale o bakufi toye ko supporter et pona Congo makambo ezosala tala nombre ya bango bazalia bazalo kima mboka biso pene to boye ba jeune boye tokimi mboka likolo ya makambo kabila azosala na mboka aligné doublé du sous-mandat, a triplé mandat, c'est la troisième mandat, alors que le dit non. Au Kimisi Biso déjà, tu veux vivre dans le monde, la vie de l'humanité. Tu le dis non, Kabila, il faut dégager, il faut se déplacer. Pour te le mis vie, il y a Okimi Sarabat. Tu l'es mis en côté, il y a un Biso, tu le dis non.
Moi, comme moi, David Nzenze, tu es à pour soutenir les réfugiés, Biso fait de même. Qui met un peu dans mboka na biso parce que Kabila azo maltraité biso Kabila a la base de la souffrance na biso bat bazo kufa ebele alors biso tozali sous na posa na été à dégager à tripler sous mandat donc biso to na posa peuple congolais aza libre ya élire président oyo aza compétent pona kobongisa mboka
nga komolanga kashiti mwanda toya oza mpona soutenir bandeko na biso baréfugie vraiment ezosala mpasi parce que na bamboka na biso toza na kimia te so lelo kongo toza kimia te oya kosufri na bamboka mosusu te po tokufa kabila franchement tozala clair olingi osusu te kabila dégage komanzo oyebanzembo olekika
Rwanda frère zala gentil ko to lingio lisusu te kende na yo papa to lembi c'est to qui m'a ba Congo eza pona franchement Kabila dégage merci.
Congo na Zando Roger mais pour supporter la Syrie en même temps oya ngaba ndeko na mboko kuna ndeko baza kufa alors nazaka na message ya kukusa kwa sa kanambe tolanda mikanda mandano esili kende wana posa no soutien mandano esili kende kamera biso ka yango
namoni président okito awa ya président ya chairman ya Congo Support est-ce que ça na moko bien message pour le peuple congolais ou bien batondi na sima na moni bazingi okuna alors donc vous avez un message pour na bango.
Merci d'abord tous les canaux sepeli mingi na présence non na lelo omoni bana Congo toye awa lelo parce que toza na mboka ya droit mboka ya mibeko efandi pona mutu nyonso toza ba victime ya régime ya tyrannie régime oyo eboma biso ba congolais basi baza violé bana bazali ya koboma chaque jour tokonaître ba victime ya modèle nyonso na mboka biso na bakaya ba réfugié baza koboma ba congolais lelo toye awa kopesa solidarité na biso pona Royaume-Uni tozosenga mboko ya poto fandi et reconnaître ba réfugié et pesa bango valeur ndenge badopesa ngo bandaka toyebi ke awa na mboko ezali mboka ya droit alors lelo moni tozali elongo na banglais ezali manifestation tosali na bakolo mboka pona ko supporter ba réfugié ezali système moko ke ba congolais tozali ka pona biso côté ils ont travaillé pona bato mosusu lelo tozosenga gouvernement britannique à reconnaître ba réfugié ka congolais te ba réfugié syrien o bazali ko souffrir balile na Congo bande kwa na bazola libanda bana bazokufa na kati ya Moselle tozosenga gouvernement britannique lokola elongo na bana mboka na bango bayamba bango bapesa mo mikanda e yango pe lelo tolobeli mpona biso ko bakongolais biso bakongolais mpe toza na mboka oyo toza kosouffrir toza kotraverse betape ebele yango lelo mpe tosengi support na bango mpona biso mpe bakongolais alors bana Congo mbote lisusu Kabila dégage Kabila dégage azandenge moko na mutu asili bashar wazoyoka sosoni te koloba epuis aye awa na Royaume-Uni po asenga protection na ye tozocouvrir na convention à Genève article 51 au parlement oyo esignaki bondeli mutu te on a affaire à un criminel dans notre pays yango nde toye na poto tosenga droit na biso toye awa na poto mpona esengo te na bamalili oyo toye awa tosenga droit na biso parce que mutu moko ntango kovivre na Congo soki onadi article 51 convention ya Genève toza ndenge moko na basyrien il faut congolais nyonso atika mboka wana parce que Kabila aokoma soki tozofanda kuna parce que tolingi babakoka te mais mutu moko ntango kovivre na Congo soki onadi article 51 convention ya Genève basi baza violé baétudia bazoboma bango bapoliticien bazokanga bango okoloba te liberté expression ezali te tokomi baréfugie na monde entier lelo biso bacongolais ndenge moko na basyrien donc tozoloba lelo parce que toyebi ke na 2016 tokozela yango soute mais Kabila doit partir il doit partir
Kabila dégage
merci mingi bana Congo Support victoire
Kabila tu dois partir.
Il faut kende. Na Kabila azanye
banaki otala biso bandeko na bino awa toza na poto malili forme toza baser bamare Kabila bazosala na Congo tozosepela te
bana kini bamona yo bandeko na bino kozanga kombo poto uti banite longo yo sala
bante komona ngai Rami Zola donc mwana mabele mwana mumbu donc ngai bomoni ngai biso tokomi bakombata po Kabila tie biso bakanda na nde mwa akanda
kombo na ngai Renat Kembo bandeko na biso na Congo bomonaka nde tozobunda mpo na mboka na biso Kabila ifo alongwa na mboka na biso tolembi babomi biso mingi pasi eleki na mboka na biso bana baza kokufa basi baza koviole mboka na biso ekoma lokola soki eloko nini Kabila kanambe olongo okende dégage kombo na ngai Marche kitoko mtoto wa Manyema mtoto amanyema kambelembele ya kutoke boy. Niko na atumia banduku yangu message. Mufungule macho, biko na tuambia sinjo tulimusala. Hatukumusala hatumujue, toyebi ete Kabila, toyebi ete. Wafungola miso toza batako ya koya awa na mboka ya kusengelo kwa mopato za na nyoso. Kabila wane fwa longwa, akende toka we mwenye Rwanda, we mtoto wa haramu, hatukujue. Marte
siko soki atindele malobake loko nozoloba mnoko moko na ye ofingi Rwandais yo poza Rwandais yo koloba
na za Rwandais te na za 100% ye Kabila nde akosi biso ke tobota ye toyebi ete mama sifa wana azana makila ba Congolais na Mukongo na ye po azokosa ke aboti ye ayebi ete ayebi secret wana Kabila munya Rwanda
toya pona ko supporter ba peuple syrien baza ba humain
Congolais yo e pona Congo
biso to ba Congolais toye ko soutenir pe ba humain ba Syriens o baza maltraité vraiment o endima bango merci
kako mo yanga mete ya ngunda Kabila nga azoloba toza koloba biso bala Congo dégager Kabila dégager tika biso mboka la biso tikela biso mboka la biso ya bakoko la biso tolingi yo te oza koboma au jour yo oza koboma bato Kabila outa wapi mama na onani tata na onani toyebi ete Kabila bima na mboka la biso bima Kabila oza koviole bamama ba 100 ans bana mikie ba 13 ans ba 2 ans oza koviole bango ozwi barwanda otolisi na mboka na biso Congo toyebi yo te papa bima kende dégage toyebi yo te toyebi yo te merci tozopengana na kombo
Congo Synthèse. La synthèse des infos de la RDC, l'Afrique et le reste du monde. Une seule adresse. www.congosynthèse.com